Hey everybody, and welcome back to Cityscape Brewing. This video I'm talking about Pilsner Urquell, which is an awesome brewery that invented Pilsner in Pilsen in the Czech Republic. If you haven't watched my previous video where I went through the entire beer tour through Europe, go check that out. I'll have that link in the video description below. This was one stop on our beer tour through Europe, but it was definitely worth having its own video because it was that amazing. So stay tuned, we're gonna talk about the tour itself, what all we did, what all we saw, and why it was so amazing. After you guys hit that like and subscribe button, grab yourself a beer, and we'll get after it. So Pilsen in the Czech Republic was our second stop on our beer tour through Europe. We were in Munich, Germany, before that going to Oktoberfest, and now we head to Pilsen. We get off the train, we walked underneath this bridge toward our hotel, and it was super picturesque. Like there were people sitting at a pond watching their kids run around in the grass, and people having a picnic off to the side. It was almost like we walked into a Hallmark movie set. It was absolutely beautiful. We didn't have much time, but before we went over to our tour, we decided that we were gonna grab a beer across the street at the Pilsner Urquell Museum. And little did we know, it was one of 3 places to get unfiltered Pilsner Urquell. We ordered one and we thought maybe they sell these things all over in Pilsen. We found out on the tour that it was one of only 3 places you can get it anywhere. And 2 of them are literally on the tour or their tap room outside of their brewery. The third was the museum. So before we went anywhere else, we had already checked one off the list. The tour you're able to take in a variety of different languages. Of course, we chose English, so it was nice because we were able to understand our tour guide and ask any questions we wanted to in English. While you're waiting for the tour, you actually watch a video on how they make the barrels and prep them to be able to store and lager their beers, which is one of the only places that still uses barrels to this day, which is crazy. So even that, before we even started the tour, was cool as crap. Next, they take you through their brewery grounds. And specifically, they point out some of the old brewery areas and their new brewery areas. They have a large canning and packaging warehouse, which wasn't, unfortunately, in operation because they were fixing something the time that we went. But it was cool to see all of the canning and bottling equipment anyway, even though it wasn't all working. It is a huge facility, and all of the beer that comes out of that is filtered and pasteurized and sent all over the world so that when you get a Pilsner Urquell somewhere else, it tastes the same as if you get it at their tap room. Some of the coolest things that we saw was some of the history.
Beer style using new bottom fermentation became popular. Not wanting to be left behind, the Pilsen burghers and 250 families with brewing rights decided in 1839 to build a brewery to produce high-quality beer. The people of Pilsen invited Bavarian brewer Josef Groll to help them at the new brewery. With his skills, new technology and local ingredients, the brewery made a new beer type. Its quality exceeded all expectations. The first golden lager was introduced in October 1842. The beer quickly became famous in Prague and neighbouring countries. This added nectar from Pilsen led to a completely new beer type known as Pils, Pilsner or Pilsener. Pilsner is one of the most popular beer types in the world today and inspires over 2/3 of beer brands. What makes Pilsner Urquell beer so unique? It's brewed with the very best Czech ingredients. Soft water from the brewery's own wells, top quality Czech barley to produce Pilsner malt, and cellars hops. Since production began, the original brewing process has been used, despite being costly, complicated, and time-consuming. But this means Pilsner Urquell beer achieves its characteristic bitter caramel flavour, golden colour, and thick, creamy white head. Because of its uniqueness, lager from Pilsen spread quickly around the world. It was supplied to the imperial court in Vienna, and from 1873 was exported to America. The beer has won many awards awards and also celebrated success at World Expo events in Paris and Brussels. Today, we export Pilsner Urquell to over 50 countries. To maintain our high quality, we train staff in our pubs and organise contests to find the best bartenders. Pilsen pubs abroad are icons of Czech beer culture, offering patrons the ultimate beer experience. The process to brew Pilsner Urquell has stayed the same. This is the Pilsen tradition appreciated the world over. After all, we've been creating this Czech legend since 1842. May God bless you with happiness.
They showed us the streetcars and trains and other things that they used to take the big barrels down to the local restaurants and pubs, which they sometimes still do today. Next, they walk you through their old brewery area where you can see what they used to brew in years ago. They've obviously moved their operations into a new brewery because of the size and scale of the beers that they need to make today. However, it was really cool to see the old brewery areas and be able to look inside of the fermenters and imagine all of the beer being made there a long time ago.
The brew house is the heart of the brewery. The procedure for brewing Pilsner Urquell beer is unique and inimitable worldwide. It is based on triple brewing of the mash while it is directly heated. This process, called mashing, takes place in a copper kettle heated by a flame to a temperature of up to 600 degrees Celsius. The malt is milled and mixed with water. 1/3 of the mixture is transferred to a copper kettle, where it is left to boil, and is then pumped back into the mash tun. This process is repeated 3 times. Unlike other types of beer, where this process is repeated only once or twice, Pilsner Urquell beer is born within a triple mash process, in a copper kettle directly heated by natural gas. This leads to caramelization at the bottom of the kettle, and the subsequent formation of the aromatic substances, which give the beer its typical colour, taste, and aroma. The product from the triple heating of water and malt is sweet wort. When sweet wort is lautered and transferred to the wort kettle, hops are added 3 times. The product from boiling sweet wort with hops is called hopped wort. Fermentation is a process that converts sugar into alcohol, ethanol. By adding oxygen and brewer's yeast to cooled hopped wort, the sugar from the malt is turned into alcohol and carbon dioxide. The result of slow and cold fermentation is green beer. It then matures in lager tanks for approximately 30 days, which is why Pilsner Urquell is called bottom fermented pale lager. Pilsner Urquell beer is distributed to customers in bottles, cans, barrels and tanks. Just like back in the era of brewmaster Joseph Kroll, the total production time of Pilsner Urquell beer is approximately 5 weeks. Cheers.
They even talked about hiding some of their open fermenters that were made of copper during World War II. They were afraid that those would get confiscated and made into ammunition and other things, so they actually buried it so they couldn't find it. They had that sitting now in the museum, which I thought was absolutely amazing and a cool piece of history. One of the coolest parts of the tour and the area of the brewery they still actually use was their cellars. You walk down into these tunnels, cold and wet, and that's what kept the beer cooler during fermentation before they had any type of technology to make it where those beers could be lagered long term. But they still do it this way to this day. You could see in the pavement the old tracks that used to take the barrels from place to place throughout this maze of tunnels. And we only saw a very small fraction of the miles and miles of these tunnels. But to my surprise, the coolest thing that we saw when we were there was actually open fermentation happening in the cellars. I was amazed. I knew that they lagered them down there, but I did not know that they open fermented them there as well. It's crazy to think as a home brewer, we talk about oxidation and mold and mildew and infection and stuff like that, but yet they're doing this in this damp, cool environment, underground, open in these wooden barrels. Absolutely crazy and super cool to see. And what is a beer tour without some samples? Well, we went to the next room where you saw stacks and stacks and stacks of these barrels, and they actually tapped one right there for us where we could pass a glass, get it filled up, and try a Pilsner Urquell unfiltered right from the barrel. It doesn't get any better than that. Towards the end of the tour, you end up in this giant room they called the ice room. And this is back when they actually had to bring ice from the mountains down and chill some of the beers that were still getting a little too warm in the cellars. They would drop it from this big hole in the ceiling into this room, and then they would take some of that ice and snow and put it on top of the barrels or in the rooms with the other beers to keep them cold. To finish it all off, we ended up in their gift shop where you could get some items, like this shirt of course, and pick up some things to bring home. They also have a tap room and restaurant there, which was absolutely fantastic, and hopping with a whole bunch of other people. Definitely worth a trip if you ever get out to Pilsen in the Czech Republic. It is well worth it, not only just for homebrewers, but for anybody who is interested in craft brew whatsoever. One of the coolest tours that I've ever done in my entire life. Definitely worth the trip. If you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Happy brewing, and Prost. Hey, thanks for watching my video. You're awesome. You want to be even more awesome? Hit that join button and become a member. You'll get exclusive members-only recipes and other perks like Brew Day sheets, and watch my videos early as they drop before anyone else. So hit that join button below, become a member, and be awesome.